Welcome into the Cards Central Postgame show here on STL Sports Central. Luke Slabaugh and Stefan Caray. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. A fun win for a new-look St. Louis Cardinals team featuring Cesar Prieto and, of course, Jimmy Crooks, who featured late in the game. And might I say, a very good defensive catching job by Jimmy Crooks to manage some traffic. Now, there are a lot of things we can talk about in this game, but I think the first thing that we have to discuss, Masyn Winn, 3 hits with runners in scoring position. He was far and away the best player in tonight's game.
I would agree. Definite player of the game. 3 RBIs, 3 hits with 2 strikes. A lot was made about his clutch hitting. And for a guy hitting .311 with runners in scoring position this year, .280 when you add 2 outs to that equation, hear me out on this, Stefan. Masyn Winn is not your prototypical cleanup hitter. However, he's 23 years old. Turned that age in March. And so the Texas native perhaps could find a way to cement himself into that heart of the order. For someone who seems to come up clutch and have good bat-to-ball skills in those situations, if you've got in 2026 and beyond some power guys around him, perhaps an Alec Burleson or someone to protect him, get as many guys on base in front of him as you can. And so you've seen other teams do that. I think Toronto is a good example of this. Early on this season, they had Andres Jimenez hitting cleanup. He's not a big power hitter necessarily. So Masyn Winn 3 for 5 and a big RBI knock there in the 10th to make sure you're up by 2 and not just 1 with the automatic runner there for the Reds. This was a good win. They ran themselves into a few outs there. They probably could have padded this lead a little bit more, and that is a knock for sure. They ran into a couple of outs there that they certainly shouldn't have. But Masyn Winn being able to lift them, got some help from the Reds defense as well, booting a few balls. So satisfying to improve to 2 games under 500 with this win against a division opponent. You'll always take that.
Yeah, certainly. And I want to stick with your point about Masyn Winn here. Justifiably so. I like your point about him hitting cleanup. Look, I don't think that's ever going to be where he's going to hit on the day-to-day on a major league roster. Now, with the way that this is constructed, this is not a power hitting team. You don't have another player that can really go and sit in that cleanup spot that you're like, okay, well, I'm super comfortable with him every single day hitting in that spot. So I don't mind that decision by you, Luke. It makes a whole lot of sense. And Masyn Winn, who was primed as one of the best 2 strike hitters on this team last year, was able to deliver with 2 outs a couple of times in this game. It was great to see. And I'm really, really proud of what we were able to witness from this Cardinals squad. A whole lot of roster shakeup. Burleson hurt. Of course, Joel Pozo hurt. And Pedro Pages is another name that we haven't maybe given the flowers that he's deserved to yet. He's had a great month of August. He has hit extremely well, and he deserves credit where it's due.
Absolutely. 10th home run of the year for Pedro Pages, and I think that was good for them to not have a rollover inning after the Reds struck there in the bottom of the first. They took the lead 2-1, and then just going through this inning in particular, you got Walker reaching on that error after Sajaci's double. Sajaci losing his helmet twice, by the way, advancing to third base and on that double. The first base running error with Walker there, getting caught stealing, basically picked off with Littell stepping off the rubber there. In certain situations, you've seen other teams do this year. I feel like if Walker pumps the brakes there and gets himself in a rundown, you might be able to get to Sajaci to steal home and get a run that way. It becomes a moot point because Pages hits a home run there, 2-2 splitter. Hanging him and banging him. In a year where the catching situation was uncertain, Herrera was hurt early this year and then proved that defensively he wasn't quite up to snuff. Contreras now playing first base full time. You need a mainstay behind the plate. It was kind of scary what happened with Pozo yesterday, taking that foul ball off the mask and staying in the game for a few more innings. Pages has been a constant. And so now you got Jimmy Crooks, the Oklahoma alum, backing him up. Good to see him get kind of a Moonlight Graham moment in there tonight. Maybe he gets a plate appearance tomorrow. They don't lack in catching depth, and that is nice to have.
Yeah, I agree with your point completely, Luke. And there's more in the minor league system as well. I really liked that Ollie was willing to put Prieto in a pinch hit role. Big moment, runner on third, 1 out. Yes, Prieto struck out, but I want to pick up with the next batter, Wilson Contreras, coming up to the plate. Contreras, a weak ground ball to short. 2 errors made by Elly De La Cruz. That was the costly one for the Reds. In a 5-5 game, a low throw couldn't be dug out by Spencer Steer, ends up being 6-5. I mean, that's how teams sometimes get lucky. The Cardinals got a little bit lucky tonight. They didn't pitch particularly well in relief, which is unusual with the way that the Cardinals have been pitching late in games. But sometimes you got to win in different ways, and that's exactly what they did tonight.
Right. And I'm seeing some comments right now in the chat about Gordon Graceffo going out there for the 8th inning. And they were a little bit handcuffed today in the bullpen. You knew Kyle Leahy was going to be down. And probably staying away from Riley O'Brien as well. They had mentioned that on the FanDuel broadcast. So you got to go with who's available there at the moment. And yeah, to your point about Ellie De La Cruz, kind of like Adderall sometimes, right? Like when he's on, he is the most talented standout player on the diamond. And when he boots the ball, it's kind of rough with 22 errors. He's kind of got this baby draft thing going for him. He's a little bit gangly out there. They got him at 6'5", 200 pounds. And that might be correct, but there's still, he hasn't really grown into the position yet. We all kind of went through that awkward teenage phase where we hadn't quite grown into our faces yet. And I feel like that's Ellie De La Cruz. He could be this amazing player. And then some nights he boots the ball like that. Wilson Contreras hustling that ground ball out was great to see. Good to see runner booking it from third there. Yeah, liked seeing Cesar Prieto coming over from the Jack Flaherty trade from the Orioles. Not much in the way of a prospect there at 26 years old, but he's hit through almost 500 minor league games, 474. Like he's hitting 293 across his minor league career. So yeah, this is the time of the year where you want to see what you got. And so it was good to see the composure late in this game. They bent, they never broke. They gave up the lead early, but that was about it.
Yeah, no, certainly with regards to Prieto. And it was sort of the unusual suspects in terms of the long ball tonight. You expect a lot of fly balls deep in the Great American Small Park. 2 of the 4 home runs came from, like I said, the unusual suspects. Pedro Pages for the Cardinals, Ke'Bryan Hayes for the Reds, who has been kind of, I won't say lampooned or lampposted or lambasted for his lack of power. But I think that's really one of the things that has been a concern for him. He signed this long-term extension with the Pirates, never could figure out the power, was a glove-first player. He goes to the opposite field in right center to tie the game up. That's something that was a bit surprising in this game. And to see Pedro Pages do it for the Cardinals sort of even things out, it was a really weird game to watch top to bottom.
Yeah, the ball was flying out there. And to your point about Ke'Bryan Hayes, it might have been against the Cardinals, but it was 2 seasons ago where he hurt his wrist in the opening series. It could have been the Cubs as well. But I feel like there was that one season, the opening weekend, where he banged up his wrist there and he was on the injured list for a long time and never really got his power stroke back. I know that the Pirates, having inked him to an extension, they're brass said, this is the moment where we turn a corner and we're not letting our homegrown players go. And then a couple of years later, they part ways with him. He's under team control through 2030. And yeah, starting to slowly get back into his game. If he is anywhere close to what he was a couple of years ago, that could be a steal of a trade, but that's the type of a risk and a gamble you take on for a team that hasn't had any playoff success since the 90s. So, I mean, hat tip to the Reds on that. As for Pages, we talked about that home run. That was great. Ivan Herrera, top of the first, getting things done with a fastball up at 92. Did a good job his first couple plate appearances, hitting the ball where it was, just staying back on it, letting it get deep and hitting it where it was. I think that was crucial for him as well. Good to see Ivan hit one. And if he can finish out the year strongly as well, it makes for a good decision how you construct the lineup there going into 2026.
Yeah, and Ivan Herrera is one of those players that there are so many question marks around. Is he going to catch next year? Is he going to be a DH only? And you almost feel like you're wasting some youth and athleticism because of the fact that he's so young. You don't want to have a mid-20s DH. That's something that you just don't want to do if you're St. Louis. That's typically a spot that's reserved for an older player or someone that can maybe slug a little bit higher than even Ivan Herrera has been doing. Again, I don't really agree with this point here from Dinescu Ruddy. Bad managerial from Ollie Marmol in the 8th. You're leading 1 run in the 8th, and you keep the same pitcher who gave up the lead 1 inning prior. Well, let's not forget that this team has needed innings from their starting pitching. They haven't exactly gotten them. Matthew Liberatore couldn't go deep in this game. He couldn't get through the 6th inning. He hasn't gotten through the 6th inning since late June. So you kind of are stuck with what choices you have. And this is a big series. So you've got to kind of got to play chess, not checkers here. And tomorrow with Michael McGreevy up against Abbott, those are arguably two of the best starters in this division as it sits right now, going up against each other. I don't mind him making this decision to keep Gordon Graceffo in this game with a young starter coming out tomorrow at a very difficult ballpark to pitch in.
I'm with you on that. You kind of got your hands tied behind your back there if you're Ollie Marmol, just with a couple of relievers down, as we said. And yeah. As for Liberatore, I was looking forward to seeing him try to get some length and get back to where he was there in mid-May. And then, I mean, last quality start there was in June. Last time he went 6 pitches, or even recorded an out there, 6 innings rather, recorded an out in the 6th inning. So this was tough for Libby, pitching in this ballpark, getting down early. He doesn't really have the velo or the movement on his fastball to locate that pitch up or catch a lot of the plate. And that's exactly what happened with Noelvi Marte there in the bottom of the first. I thought he did a good job with command after the fact through the 5th inning, but then just kind of ran into a wall there in the bottom of the 6th. But for a guy who doesn't have a high strikeout rate, whose fastball value is 9th percentile in the league run value, and doesn't have a whole lot of spin on it either, I feel like the gas is kind of running out here on Liberatore. We had heard in years prior that he's got a rubber arm, and he certainly can rise to the occasion and throw some innings, but this is the first time that you're trying to stretch him out for a full year there in a starting role. And I feel like it might be a struggle the next 4 or 5 starts here to get this thing through the end of September.
Well, certainly that rubber's been hitting the road for Matthew Liberatore, and we hope that he can get deeper into games. Now, a quick pause to remind you that all content here on STL Sports Central is provided by DraftKings, and nothing beats relaxing on a
gambling problem. Call 1-800.
It's the simplest way to get on the action, and to download the DraftKings Pick 6 app is the best way to do it. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on all the fun. You don't want to settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, welcome back to the Cards Central Postgame Show. Luke Slabaugh, Stefan, Caray. I want to go to a quick question here because we have to answer some of our viewers' questions. And if you are watching this video and you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure that you go and subscribe to STL Sports Central for all of our content, baseball, football, every single sport in between the arches. Masyn Winn, and it's almost like you knew which one I was looking at. Who plays first base when Contreras is suspended? I think that's why you bring up Jimmy Crooks. And if not Jimmy Crooks, Ivan Herrera has played over there a couple of times.
Yeah, Herrera seems like a good fit right now. I was thinking about this when they brought in Crooks and he took that foul ball off the hand late in the game. Is that who is the emergency catcher if things went to hell in a handbasket? Prieto, Sajaci looks like the type, but maybe just because he's channeling Matt Carpenter with the swinging with no batting gloves. I really don't know. But yeah, either one of Herrera or Crooks. Crooks has got some good athleticism. He showed that at OU. I was able to cover him in that team back when you were in Amarillo and I was in Tulsa. And so it would be nice to see him get a little bit of a look there. Unfortunately, Burleson on the IL now with the wrist injury. So yeah, it's slim pickings over there at the corner over there at first base.
The cold corner, as I like to call it from time to time.
Sometimes it demands athleticism, and we've seen some good stuff from Wilson Contreras, and we've seen some bad sometimes as he adjusts over there. The really good sliding catch from Jordan Walker today, saving an RBI hit there, I thought was pretty good as well. I always like giving him some love. He had the home run yesterday, and yeah, I enjoyed that. That was Noelvi Marte there when Alcala came in there in relief of Liberatore there in the 6th. Yeah, runners there in scoring position and able to make the sliding grab to end the inning like that.
Yeah, certainly. Jordan Walker deserves his flowers defensively for sure. You can ask a lot of questions about his approach at the plate, but defensively, he's night and day from what he was last year. It's certainly 2 years ago, excuse me. And Gorman should play first when the suspension happens. I think that's probably the most likely outcome. You look at him as that power hitting, left-handed bat in the lineup. I would love to see Gorman over there at first base as well. You have some options at first, which is certainly a great thing. Now, Luke, I want to talk about tomorrow's game because it's intriguing. I've seen a lot of games where the Cardinals have maybe been outmatched in terms of the opposing pitcher as compared to who they're throwing out there on the mound. Andrew Abbott is one of the best pitchers in the National League. I think that's something that we can safely say. 2.62 ERA, 8-4, 118 strikeouts this season. But Michael McGreevy, I mean, how about him? 4.43. Yeah, the ERA hasn't looked its best, but he's given them a chance to win virtually every time he stepped on the rubber.
He has, and it's kind of become a running gag with me and Ethan Hannaford, where it's like, oh, a Cardinals sinker baller is on the mound. It's kind of like a game of Russian roulette. Like if he's on and he's locating well, like it's going to be a great quality start. But you start leaving pitches up and they square you up, like it could be rough, especially in Cincinnati. Andrew Abbott's been good. He's kind of gotten juiced this month, though, in particular. The Diamondbacks struck him for what, 6 runs last time out? Yeah, 6 earned runs, 7 total. The Cubs beat him up pretty good after the trade deadline. So a guy who's definitely vulnerable, a guy who the Reds have extended quite a bit this month, let him go over the century mark in pitches. So this is definitely, it's always a winnable game. I mean, it's baseball. You never know what you're going to get each night. Coming off this win and this high tonight, show them your best. The Cardinals have shown that they can hit really well with runners in scoring position, 5 for 15 tonight. If you maybe, take my backseat managing idea and maybe get Masyn Winn some more opportunities there with runners in scoring position, it could be fun. I look forward to seeing this series. I'm going to be on the road tomorrow. I will be back Sunday morning for the 365 show and then doing post game Sunday. Super duper excited. But this bodes well. Hopefully this isn't a freezing cold take in 24 hours. Hopefully they can build on this tonight.
Well, certainly you hope that they can stack a couple of wins. Look, we don't know if they're going to make the postseason. Right now, the odds stacked against them, that's for certain. But as long as they play sound baseball, as long as they put out a good product and something that's fun to watch, which it has been the last couple of games, that's all I really care about. I want to keep seeing this team play the way that they have been playing because it's resemblant of the team in May that found different ways to win, not just the same type where we're just going to outwill you, we're going to overpower you with pitching or our offense. That's just not how this team is constructed. They have to catch their break. And to Brad Thompson's credit on the broadcast, he said at each of the last 2 games, it comes down to one play or one defensive miscue in games like tonight that get you wins. And that's exactly what happened with Elly De La Cruz's throw to first with Contreras streaking down the line. So you've got to find ways to play the game hard, and sometimes you'll be rewarded like the Cardinals were here in game 1 of this series.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Stefan. There's no denying the effort that this team has. Everyone is playing for their jobs in 2026. And you're getting these guys now, the younger ones being called up, getting an audition, filling in for injured everyday players like a Donovan or a Burleson. And to their credit, they're going to play their heart out and rise to the occasion, or at least try to. So everyone's coaching for their job in 2026 and beyond. This rebuild's going to look a little bit different. Likely, you got a new outside voice coming into the organization in Chaim Bloom, and we might not recognize this roster in 2 to 3 years compared to tonight, but we saw some standout hitting from Masyn Winn, Pedro Pajes, and Ivan Herrera in particular. And good defensive stuff as well. I liked the way that Nathan Church was reading the ball off the bat there in center field. Little things like that. Yeah, I think this was a solid win. They stayed composed. They never really broke down. The game never felt out of reach. It never felt like the momentum was turning in a completely sour direction. So, yeah, there's a lot to improve on. And, yeah, I mean, we could belabor the point about Graceffo, pitching, 28 pitches and going out there for the 8th. And we can talk about all that stuff. But a win is a win. You got it in extras. You stick it to a division opponent. All good in my book.
Luke, the final point I want to ask you about is tomorrow, in all likelihood, we could see Prieto, we could see Church, and we could see Crooks in the same lineup, not to mention Winn, Walker, and of course, Thomas Sajaci. The young Cardinals core could be on full display tomorrow. How excited are you to see that and how they play together? Not necessarily how they did tonight with those two guys coming in late in the game, but through a full 9 innings.
I'm super excited. Look, a major league debut series, just getting your feet wet. The major leagues is completely different from the minors. For these guys, we mentioned Prieto hitting 290 over 474 career games in the minors. One of the pieces back in the Jack Flaherty trade with Baltimore. And there's going to be some swing and miss to the game. They're going to have a hard time catching up to velo that they haven't seen regularly at the minor league level. There's going to be some learning curves and some mistakes along the way. I think Cardinal fans, for the young guys just starting out, they're going to be curious. I don't want to use the word patient because I know President of Baseball Ops John Mozeliak has said that to death. He's hackneyed it, and I've been here through all of it. So I understand that right now the Cardinals are not in a position where they are competing full thrust for a deep playoff run. This is not happening. Probability wise, we're not going to get into that. However, for these young guys to get a taste of big league ball, I think that should attract some curiosity for a fan base that really demands more. The standard is the standard in St. Louis, and this offseason demands bold, decisive action. This next month stretch, give Jimmy Crooks some leeway, give some runway and some latitude to a Cesar Prieto, and you might be pleasantly surprised. And if not, it's going to be okay. That's all I got.
Can't say it much better than that. Tomorrow, 5:40 Central Time is the first pitch, game 2 between the Cardinals and the Reds. It features Michael McGreevy and Andrew Abbott, as we have discussed. It's going to be a young battle between both the Reds and the Cardinals, and that's the most exciting part. We know a lot of fans are going to be tuned into college football. I mean, hand up, I'm probably going to be watching a lot of college football tomorrow. Can't wait for that to come back. We'll have plenty of coverage for you here on STL Sports Central for that little itch that I'm sure all of you need to scratch. But do you have any final thoughts from tonight's game and, of course, for game number 2 tomorrow?
I think you covered it excellently. Getting this first game 1 win on the road, it's great. And infuse some youth into that lineup over the weekend series. It'll pique some curiosity for sure. It's a weekend series on the road against a division opponent. Stick it to them. Play your hearts out, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
Love the way you said that, Luke. Thank you so much for joining us, to everybody in the chat. Make sure to subscribe, like all the videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel on STL Sports Central. For everyone here with the company, I'm Stefan Caray for Luke Slabaugh. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. This has been the Cards Central Postgame Show. Cardinals win tonight, 7-5 in extras, hoping to improve tomorrow against the Reds.